Hello friends, I'm Doug Terrell, and this is History and Comments. Today is Thursday, the second day of September, the 245th day of 2021. In 1789, Congress established the Department of the Treasury. The Treasury oversees the Bureau of Engraving, which prints money, Bureau of the Mint, which strikes coins, and the Internal Revenue Service. Has anyone ever questioned why the most aggressive government agency is called a service? President Lincoln was really hands-on in the Civil War. Part of that was due to how close the war was to the American people, which is normal for a Civil War. On this day in 1862, displeased with General Pope's poor performance at the Second Battle of Bull Run, Lincoln restores General George McClellan to command. McClellan was liked by the troops and was a good organizer, but McClellan does not like Lincoln, especially his meddling with the army, and Lincoln does not like McClellan. McClellan will not last long in this position, nor will any general until Grant. We tend to think that the race and immigration issues we have today are unique to the present. That would be completely wrong. It might be more accurate to say that every immigrant group has faced resistance and even persecution. In 1885, the conflict between Chinese workers on the Union Pacific Railroad and the European immigrant miners boils into a massacre. The relation between the UP Railroad and the Chinese go back to the days when the UP portion of the Transcontinental Railroad was being graded and laid. The Union Pacific was working east from California, and that meant climbing the Sierra Nevada mountains. It was a tough place to build a railroad, and Chinese workers were cheap. Casualties were high. The phrase, "not having a Chinaman's chance," is attributed to Chinese track workers on the Union Pacific. Back in 1885, some Chinese have moved into the UP coal mines. Those mines also hire miners from Europe. The European miners feel the Chinese are willing to work for lower wages than the Europeans. Known as the Rock Springs Massacre, over 24 Chinese are killed, several hundred are displaced, and over $4 million in damage is inflicted in today's dollars. Vice President Theodore Roosevelt is giving a speech at the Minnesota State Fair, and during the speech includes his now famous phrase, "Speak softly and carry a big stick," in 1901. William F. Harrah is born in 1911. He is forced to drop out of engineering school due to the Depression. As a result, he turns to skills games that are legal in his native California. Wishing to expand his games beyond what California will allow, he looks to Reno, Nevada. He goes on to build a casino empire. On a personal note, Harrah is married 7 times between 1940 and 1974. One of those is a 4-month marriage to singer-songwriter Bobby Gentry. It is reported that this was the muse for the benevolent gentleman in the song Fancy. 16-year-old Arthur Eldred is awarded the first Eagle Scout by the Boy Scouts of America in 1912. Being a new award, his review board included Daniel Beard and Robert Baden-Powell, both founders of the organization, who happened to be in town. 4 generations of Eldreds have been Eagle Scouts. Grady Nutt, and yes, that was his birth name, is born in 1935. A Baptist preacher from his teens, he became known for his religious-based humor and appeared on later seasons of the Hee Haw series. He was killed in a private plane crash in 1982. World War II comes to an end in 1945 as Japan signs the surrender on the deck of the USS Missouri anchored in Tokyo Bay. Hall of Fame quarterback Terry Bradshaw is 73. Bradshaw played 14 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers, including 4 Super Bowl championships. Bradshaw was a Louisiana native and played college ball at Louisiana Tech, where he was backup quarterback to Phil Robertson of the Duck Commander fame. Robertson is reported to have been more interested in hunting than football. Also a quarterback, at least in college, Mark Harmon is better known for his acting skills. Harmon has led 18 seasons of the television show NCIS. Harmon is 70 today. The CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite as anchor becomes the nation's first half-hour broadcast in 1963, expanding from 15 minutes. In the 60s, CBS was the network that covered NASA. It's hard to imagine Apollo coverage without Walter Cronkite. If you happen to tour the Kennedy Space Center, they have recreated launch control and simulate an Apollo launch, which cuts to Walter during the countdown. Cronkite was not totally unbiased as most Americans believed, but he was far more objective than any anchor today. Speaking of NASA, they canceled 2 Apollo flights on this day in 1970. Moscow tries and convicts 19-year-old German Matthias Rust for violating the Soviet border, air security, and creating an emergency. They didn't say anything about an embarrassment. When he will be sentenced to 4 years in a general labor camp and serve 14 months. Rust had flown his small aircraft from Finland, landing near Red Square. And that's History and Comments for the 2nd of September. I'm Doug Terrell. Now go and do something worth remembering.